Okay,
Okay.
I'm standing in a location where you don't want to see a video. Okay, and then okay,
Okay, that we can do. Okay, I see Marco. Okay, so we are actually, I see everybody sort of connecting. I see Alisa. Great. We're
okay,
only missing Nicole. So Deborah, you're definitely good to go, and feel free to take it away.
okay. Good evening, good evening, good evening. No, I don't usually look that cute, but if you're looking at my video, you'll see this amazing picture of a mural that we had painted at our headquarters. But tonight, I am so very excited because tonight is an extraordinary town hall. I think you all know that one of the things that Tarrant County is working hard to do is return sanity to the Texas House of Representatives by electing great Democrats from Tarrant County to the House of Representatives. And tonight, we have five extraordinary candidates for you to listen to. You're going to be hearing from Jeromey Sims, our candidate for House District 91, for Alyssa Simmons, our candidate from House District 94, our amazing incumbent Nicole Collier from House District 95, Joe Drago from House District 96, and my namesake, Deborah Edmondson from House District 98. We are so excited to have these candidates with us tonight, but we're even more excited to have them on the ballot. Just a few quick updates so everyone will know. Vote by mail, we have mailed almost 67,000 ballots. Many of those ballots were people who asked for an annual ballot, and from the March primary, we know there many of those are Democrats. They are hitting mailboxes now. I am encouraging people to vote your ballots, vote straight Democratic from the top of the ballot to the bottom. And it is safe to mail your ballot now. Please don't let the orange one frighten you into not mailing your ballot. Please, it is safe to mail your ballot. If you live in Mansfield or the Northwest School District, it requires extra postage. So please, it requires 70 cents postage. And so please put 2 first-class stamps on it and mail it back. The other thing that I wanted to tell you is we're not going to let Greg Abbott's ruling today scare people away from the ballot box. You can go and drop off your ballot at 2700 Premier. If you need a ride to do that, we need you to tell people to call our headquarters and we will get you a ride. You require photo ID or a form of ID when you turn in your ballot, but we don't want anybody to feel disenfranchised or that you can't vote. So lots of things going on from our headquarters. You've started to see signs around Tarrant County that say vote Democrat. You're also going to see Biden-Harris signs going up in the next couple of days. But I will tell you, signs don't vote. But when I start to see the number of Biden-Harris signs that are going out, it tells me that we've got great things going on in our county. So Heather Bowen, our communications manager, is kind of running things. Heather is getting ready we are co-hosting this event tonight with our friends from Stonewall Democrats, and we will be joined by their president, Felipe Gutierrez, who's going to welcome you. And so, Heather, they want to be listening to our candidates and not to me. So let's get started.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Deborah. And once again, I'm Heather Bowen, Tarrant County Democratic Party Communications Chair, and I am excited about the wonderful candidates that we are going to introduce to you today. They're all of our state house candidates, or not all of them, but some of our state house candidates. And as you know, Tarrant County, is postured in the perfect position to turn a lot of those House seats over to the Democrats. We're hoping that we have a delegation of Democrats that enters into the Texas state legislature in order to fight for health care and fair wages, as well as making sure that we don't experience what we did experience during the pandemic, as well as Governor Abbott's overreach on a lot of election related issues. So with that, I am glad that we have a video from Felipe Gutierrez. He is the president for the Tarrant County Stonewall Democrats. And so I am going to share his, I'm going to do our intro video and then share his video with y'all. Just.
Hello, everyone. It's your friends from the Tarrant County Democratic Party. We're working very hard to turn Tarrant blue on Election Day. A lot of you have been asking, how do I do my part? Well, it's quite simple. Just remember 4 important things to do before Election Day. Number 1, register to vote. Go to registertexas.com and see if you're registered. If not, you can do so up until October 5th. The second thing you should do is get ready for early voting. You can vote early this year from October 13th to October 30th. Early voting will be critical this election. As you may know, Texas is now a swing state, and turnout will likely be unprecedented. We want to do everything we can to avoid large crowds on November 3rd. We need to make sure everyone can vote quickly and safely. When you enter the voting booth, remember step number 3. Don't stop at the top. This year, Republican elected officials have taken away straight ticket voting. Republicans making it harder to vote? Shocking, I know. Let's show them that these kinds of tactics won't work in Texas. Vote for every Democrat up and down the ballot. Don't stop at the top. When you're finished early voting, you can help us out with one last thing. Sign up to be an election worker. The more workers we have, the more polling places we can have open on Election Day. You can sign up at tarrantdemocrats.org. This is another important step that will make voting easier and safer. It's also a paying job. Help out your community and get paid. So remember, registertexas.com. Early voting. Don't stop at the top. And be an election worker. With your help, we can turn Tarrant and Texas blue.
Awesome, awesome. And now I'm going to play a special video that Felipe had put together specifically for this event. So I've got to get that ready. I don't have a Megabucks production team here, so appreciate your all's patience. And here's Felipe.
Hi everyone, this is Felipe Gutierrez, President of Tarrant County Stonewall Democrats. I'm sorry that I couldn't attend today's event. I'm attending an LGBT caucus event, but thank you to all our fellow Democrats attending today. You know, at Stonewall we understand that elections have consequences. Back when President Trump took office, nearly 2 hours into it, he removed all LGBTQ language from the official White House pages. So we understand that elections have consequences and we're still paying for that till this day. So we must take back the White House. We must take back the Senate. We must vote down ballot and make sure that we vote in state races, in county races. We must vote, contribute, and volunteer. You know, just the other day in the debate, he said, stand down and stand by. But my union side says, stand up and fight back at the ballot by voting. Thanks.
Awesome, awesome. So welcome everybody. We have a full hour here. Our county party chair is actually doing a television interview right now. I did see Marco Rosas, our executive director. Marco, if you just want to say a few words before we get started.
Welcome everybody. It's so good to see our great candidates and future state representatives with us, as well as our great state representative, Nicole Collier. Very excited for tonight. Very excited that Facebook and everyone else can see the great people that I'm working for right now, trying to get elected. So I'm excited, and I hope y'all are excited.
Awesome. Thanks, Marco. So the first candidate we have, we did say we have 5 candidates that will be speaking tonight, as well as a Nicole Collier, who is running for reelection. So we're going to actually go in order, numerical order based on House districts. So the first candidate that we have up, I've actually known him for a couple of years. I think we've all done the work of trudging through and doing what it takes on the grassroots level to reach to try to knock on almost every door in his district. And so I do want to welcome running for House District 91, Jeromey Sims. Welcome, Jeromey.
Hey, thanks, Heather. And thank you to everybody that's out there watching this or who's going to watch it in the future. If you enjoy what you see here tonight, not just from me, but from any of these candidates, please make sure that you point out this video to anybody that you know that's in Tarrant County, because they may be in a district that's different from you, and they may need to know who their candidates are. So my name is Jeromey Sims. I'm running for Texas House District 91. It's really cool when we go to these things and it just happens that my number is usually the lowest. So it's the opposite of when I was in school. My last name started with S and I was always near the end of the line. So this time I'm at the front. House District 91 includes some cities in Northeast Tarrant County: North Richland Hills, Haltom City, Watauga, Richland Hills, and a little bitty piece of Fort Worth, just northwest of Haltom City. So I'm so excited to be able to run for this seat and try to represent my community. This is the second time that I've run for this seat, like Heather mentioned. We knocked on thousands and thousands of doors, and as we went through that process, I think I'm on my 3rd or 4th time of knocking on several doors in different parts of the district, because one of the reasons that I really got into this is because I felt like my community was not being represented in the Texas House. And I felt like if I wanted to go represent those things and how the people felt, I needed to go hear what they had to say. So doing this on Facebook is kind of like the small version of how we do that during this coronavirus time. Normally we'd be out knocking doors and going to public events. And so I hope that this gives you a little bit of sense of who we are, but I also want you to always reach out if you ever have any questions or want to get involved. So I'll talk about that later. I got into running for the Texas House because I didn't see my values being represented there. At the time, in the 2017 session, I saw things like the bathroom bill come up for votes in the Texas legislature, or at least be debated. I saw things like the Show Me Your Papers bill get passed. And those things were not how I was brought up. I was raised as a preacher's kid, and I was always taught to treat others the way you want to be treated and to look out for those that have less than you. And you know, those things that were brought up in the Texas Ledge did not match my values. And I really don't think that they match the values of 80 to 90% of Texans that are out there. And as I went and knocked on doors, that feeling that I had deep down in my heart was definitely brought home and rings true to me even today. So I ran in 2018 and we made a lot of progress and built some real community around voters and specific issues and made some progress, I think. There was some real progress to be made for teachers in HB3 that got passed. But, you know, there were some other things that happened in that last session in 2019. The Texas legislature still did not fully fix school funding. They did a one-time fix, and they really failed to protect our retired teachers who have given their entire life, their professional life, to trying to make sure that we have a good educated population. I think that's wrong, and we should definitely take care of those. We also need to, in the Texas House, make sure that we address the need that Texans have for real medical marijuana reform so that people like our vets who are suffering from PTSD can have access to natural medicine instead of having to rely on pharmaceuticals like things that cause the opioid crisis in different parts of the country. These are things that we can do at the Texas level to show that our values are being represented. I also want to just point out that as much as the corruption in Washington, D.C. gets covered, the things that happen in Texas don't so much. So you may not know that We have corruption at the Texas House level, just like there is in Washington, but it's not getting the coverage. And you need to know that our Texas House Speaker was caught on audio recording offering to trade press credentials for special favors in the upcoming election. And my opponent is the person who failed to hold him accountable. And you know, since there was no vote brought up on getting rid of the Speaker of the House when this came to light, we still have him as the Speaker of the House. Keep that in mind, that if you want someone to represent you in the Texas House of Representatives that is going to make sure that we hold our leaders accountable, you need to make sure that you vote for someone who is running to represent you and not special interest groups and not big donors and corporate PACs. I want to make sure that we fund our schools properly and take care of our retired teachers. I want to make sure we can raise the minimum wage and help protect workers in Texas as much as possible. Our teachers are legally not even allowed to have a union in Texas. What is that about? I want to make sure that we have clean air and water, and that Texas is an innovator in clean energy and not lagging towards the back. I want to make sure that we ensure equal rights and protections for all Texans, no matter who you love in our state. We should expand our voter registration to be online, and I want to make sure that we can ensure access to fair voting, which is especially important right now. There's no reason that we can't have mail-in voting for everyone who wants it in the state of Texas, especially in a time when we're going through a pandemic. I want to represent regular people, not corporate PACs and special interest groups. So I'll drop the link in the Facebook chat to my website, but you need to get involved. If you care about these same things that I care about, please make sure that you go to my website, votesims.com, and click on the volunteer link and fill out your information. I have a great volunteer coordinator who will plug you into a place where you feel comfortable in the campaign. We have a place for everyone in our campaign, whether you want to do phone calls, texting, or just do lit drops where you go around and stick things on people's doors. All these things can be done safely without you having any exposure. We even have a really cool postcard program where you can fill out postcards, handwritten postcards, telling your friends and neighbors why it's important that they get out to vote. And we're going to supply the address labels and stamps to send those out when it's time for people to go vote, which is coming up very soon. If you want to sponsor a roll of stamps to help us get those postcards mailed to those voters, it's only $35 for a roll of 100 postcard stamps. I'll drop that link in the chat too. All these ways you can get involved, but most importantly, if you have a question for me or you want to just ask where I stand on something, my phone number, my email address goes right to my cell phone, is on my website. Please get in touch. The website is votesims.com. Thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you so much, Jeremy. Good to see you again. I just have a quick question for you.
Yeah.
Where are you running at? For everyone who's out there who might not know, can you give us just a quick rundown of exactly where your district runs?
Absolutely. Yeah. Mine is one of the least gerrymandered districts in Texas. It kind of actually looks like a rectangle. It's mostly made up of city limits. So it's Haltom City, North Richland Hills, Watauga, Richland Hills, and kind of the Park Glen area of Fort Worth.
Jeremy, once again, thank you so much. Good to see you, brother.
Likewise.
Yes. So Jeremy Sims, House District 91 candidate. Awesome. Next up, we have Alyssa Simmons, who's going to be running for House District 94. Alyssa, I see you. Are you ready, ma'am?
I am.
Good deal. Thank you.
So thank you. I'm Alyssa Simmons. I'm running for Texas House District 94, which is in Arlington. It encompasses about 45% of Arlington. So, and then it also includes Pantego and Dalworthington Gardens. I have lived here, raised a family, served in the trenches here in Arlington for about 35 years. I have 2 adult sons. My youngest is a first lieutenant in the Marine Corps, and he's stationed in Okinawa. I've been an engaged, again, entrenched community volunteer just about all of my time here in Arlington. And so I most recently and I currently serve as the NAACP president here. I've been in that role for 10 years. I've learned a tremendous amount. I did not expect to learn and to be as engaged as I was, but this role brings a lot. It has opened my eyes to a lot. And so, when it comes to who counts in today's Arlington, a microcosm of today's America, you'll find that vulnerable communities are usually at the bottom of the list. And so I think we need to build a democratic economy that works for all of us and not just the wealthy few. Workers should earn a living wage. We should all have the right to love who we want to. Teachers should be respected enough to be paid a respectable salary with robust benefits. Small businesses that have never gotten that big break deserve to have the opportunity to obtain business in this city and in this state. The criminal justice reform is imperative. That is near and dear to me because of my experiences supporting families whose loved ones have been victims of police brutality. I have worked with 5 families in Arlington who lost a loved one unjustly to lethal force by the Arlington Police Department. And so in working with those families, their attorneys, the city manager, police chief, the district attorney, I've got some ideas for police reform that we need to consider in this state. So, for far too long, I'll say this, I hope it doesn't upset anybody. Democrats have been hiding, it seems. We've been hiding behind being too busy. We stay inside and we fight the good fight on Facebook and Twitter. And that's just not enough these days. I'm delighted to be among the class of candidates running to flip the Texas House. We've got big issues to tackle. Redistricting is one. The budget shortfall is the biggest issue. And so I'm excited to get to Austin. I need you to help me get there. We could use volunteers. We are lit dropping and we are knocking on doors in this campaign. So if you don't want to knock doors, you don't have to, you can just lit drop. But I have personally been knocking on doors and that's been very well received. We do it safely, of course. So if you want to help us, there's so many people that we yet need to reach. We're doing a good job of it, but we could always use more volunteers. So that's about it from me. I'll take questions at some point. Marco, I do have a phone bank that starts in 2 minutes with Beto, so I may excuse myself here shortly.
Yes, ma'am. And first off, Alisa, thank you so much just for running. As you all heard, she's an NAACP president. You heard where she's running at. Alisa's hit on something that is so true. For years and years, Democrats have been reactive versus proactive in not only what we do, but in how we run. Nicole Collier has always been a champion here for Tarrant County. Drago has ran in the past and he picked up the baton again. Jeromey Sims here is a fighter. And, this election cycle, Alyssa and Debra have decided to, take up arms and walk with us with the new sense. So we were excited. Alisa, thank you so much for joining us. There's always time to campaign, even during a town hall. So we understand if we don't see you. Thank you for joining us. House District 94, Alyssa Simmons. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. And hey, Deborah and Joe and Jeremy. And is that all of us? I think so.
Thank
You
you,
got
ma'am.
us all.
Okay. All right. I have to bow out. Thank you.
Thanks, Alisa.
Bye-bye.
Go ahead, Heather.
Okay, so I want to introduce this next candidate who she's running for re-election. She has actually been at the State House, fighting the good fight for all Democrats here in Tarrant County, as well as everyone, regardless of party. So I am proud to introduce Nicole Collier in House District 95.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Heather. Thank you, Marco. You guys have been lead cheerleaders and helping us spread the word and the message that this election, we've got to make sure that we turn out and turn up. We've got to get our people out to vote because our lives depend on it. We need help at the State House. I'm so proud of the candidates who are running for office, the courage it takes to put yourself out there, the time that it takes to run for office and to be in office. It's all about being a part of your heart. It's heart work is what I always tell people. You've got to have it in your heart to do this work that we're doing. And I'm just so grateful to be able to run for re-election. I do want to thank you for supporting me and helping me do the work that we're doing in the legislature and in our community. It is an honor to have your trust and your confidence as I move forward. But I need help. Let me tell you, there have been times, Jeremy talked about this at the beginning, when there have been bills that have been promoted that don't have our community's interest at heart. And we need to have reinforcement. We need to have warriors by our side, like the ones that are running now, to help us fend off these policies. In fact, if we can get the 9 more Democrats elected, we don't have to worry about those things coming up because we will run the House. And that's what we are aiming to do. We saw the presidential debate the other day, and we know that we need to have the Democrat in office from the top to the bottom. We need to have that the Democrats in office. So I just wanted to let you know about some of the things that, we are going to continue to build on. Our fine candidates have already brought up quite a few of the issues, including reimagining policing. Governor Abbott talked about penalizing local governments who defund, and whatever that means. I don't know what he means by defund, but that was his word, defund policing. But what if they are allowed to reimagine policing? And that's what we're asking. We're expecting our local governments to be able to. They need the flexibility to reimagine policing because the way it is now is not working. It's not acceptable. And we need to give them that flexibility. For so many years, the State House and the state government, starting with the governor, have tried to erode local control. We need to have, our local governments need the ability to act in response to their constituents' request. And if we tie their hands, they're not able to represent us. So that's why when he says that he's going to penalize local governments, we can't take that. We cannot allow that to happen. We have to be able to hold the line and prevent those types of bills. For so long, they've been eroding local control, but our local governments need the ability to respond to our requests for reimagining policing. We also want to make sure our children, we did take quite a few steps in education, but there's more work that needs to be done. And now that we're in this pandemic, we need to make sure that our children have a safe environment to learn without risking their health. And that goes for not only our children, but our educators and those that are there. My husband's a teacher, and I know firsthand what it's like to have him go out to school and then come home and just pray that he has not contracted any type of virus. So I definitely want to make sure that our schools have the resources they need to provide the equipment. Now, let me tell you about District 95. We're a great, wonderful, thriving district, but our infrastructure in terms of broadband access is poor. We don't have sufficient broadband access. So when our school districts get these hotspots, that's nice, but they're only as good as the foundation, and our foundation needs to be improved. So that's why I want to work with our colleagues to improve the foundation, improve cell tower connectivity. We want to make sure that those hotspots, they work and they are stable and reliable when our children log on to them. So we need to make sure that our businesses are investing in our communities with this broadband technology. The other thing I wanted to talk about was, of course, healthcare. We want to make sure that everyone has access to quality healthcare. We want to make sure that our economy is thriving, and that means that we need to make sure that businesses are coming into our community and staying there. And then also, I want to continue to protect our consumer rights. I have filed bills in response to my community's request in terms of parking at apartment complexes. I've talked about debt collection, making sure that the debt collection is fair. And so I want to continue to build upon those issues. So again, I want to thank you for for allowing me to represent you. I am on the ballot. I need your vote. Let me tell you, we don't have straight party ticket anymore. So everybody needs to have a check by their name. I'm running for re-election. I'm asking for your support and your vote, starting from the top to the bottom. Please vote every Democrat. And again, if you have any questions, you can call me at the office, 817-332-1180. And thank you, and best wishes to all of our fine Democrats.
Thank you,
so
Nicole.
much. Thank you, Representative Collier. You are awesome. Thank you. Next up, for House District 96 is a gentleman who also ran for judge in 2016. And like I said, he decided he wanted to come back for more. And for House District 96 candidate Joe Drago.
Thank you, Marco. And thank you to the Tarrant County Democratic Party, as well as the Tarrant County Stonewall Democrats and Felipe for hosting us tonight. One of the great joys of doing things like these is getting to follow such great leaders as Nicole Collier. She has done a tremendous job in the House of Representatives and leads one of the most important committees in that body. And she's right, they need some help. They're very good leaders, but there's only so much you can do by yourself. And I think you've seen on this call with Jeromey and Alisa and Debra to be next, we have some really fine candidates, and we have some people that are going to work hard, that are going to fight for those people that have been marginalized, that are going to fight for those people that have been ignored, and fight for those people that have been silenced. Because that's our job. Our job is to work for you. It's not the other way around. It is not our job to basically champion the issues of ourselves or the issues of our donors. It's our job to champion the issues of our constituents. It's our job to listen, to hear, which is just as important as listening, and to understand what our constituents' needs are so that we can better serve our communities. A little bit about me. I've lived in Fort Worth my entire life, 52 years. It's where I call home. My mom still lives here over on the southwest side in District 97. I'm running in House District 96, which is just south of Nicole's district there in 95, in the southern part of Tarrant County. It basically runs almost all the way across Tarrant County, with its southern border being the Johnson County line. It starts over a little bit west of the Chisholm Trail Parkway, has a little bit of Fort Worth, then crosses over into Crowley, a little bit of Fort Worth again, down the I-35 corridor, then into Rendon, then into Mansfield, and then actually east of 360 in Arlington. So it's got a little bit of Arlington in it as well. So it's a large district. It's a very diverse district. It is a very district that is changing demographically by the second. like I said, I've lived here all my life. I've been a lawyer for 27 years. And what I do is I solve problems. And the first thing that I do when I get a case in is I look at both sides, because I think it's important to understand and analyze what both sides are saying. That's the only way you can make a good decision, and a decision that contemplates what your constituents' needs are. If you totally ignore one side or the other, change doesn't happen. Change only happens when we work together. And I don't think that's a fantasy. I think that it's real. What happened when I ran in 2016 for judge, I was the only Democrat on the ballot countywide. So it was a little bit lonely. I kid people that I had a 3-person campaign team, me, myself, and I. But we got 275,000 votes in Tarrant County in 2016, just shy of what Hillary Clinton got in Tarrant County. And I'm very proud of that race, but I woke up on November 4th thinking I did what I could do and it wasn't enough. 2 years later, I woke up and I said, look, I've got to do more. I'm tired of zero-sum politics. I'm tired of you win, I lose, or I win and you lose. We need to go to Austin. We need leaders in Austin who champion, we need leaders in Austin who have the backs of their constituents and not worry about protecting their own backs. We need leaders in Austin who will tackle the real problems of public education, healthcare, equality, and so many other issues, rather than making up solutions to problems that don't exist. And there was way too much of that going on. Now we've got a good start in 2019, but like I said earlier, we need to give Nicole and Chris Turner and Ramon Romero and all the wonderful people that are currently in our legislature some help. We saw what happened when we elected 12 new Democrats to the Texas House in 2018. And we can do that if we elect 9 more. We will move the ball forward and we will make change. We only have 140 days in a session to get the work done. And there's so much work to be done. We mentioned redistricting. We want to make sure that the constituents are picking their representatives rather than their representatives choosing which districts that they want to run in. We want to make sure that healthcare, people have access to healthcare, and the first thing we've got to do is expand Medicaid. 38 states have expanded Medicaid. Texas has the highest rate of uninsured people in the country and the highest rate of maternal mortality in the country, and that's unacceptable. The way we help do that is by expanding Medicaid. I'll give an example. New Mexico expanded Medicaid in 2013. Their uninsured rate dropped 51%. That's huge. Sorry for my dog. So that's huge. But what it will do is it will bring in, we're sending billions of dollars to Washington through our federal income taxes that we don't get back. It goes to other states to fund healthcare in other states. That's our money. It needs to come back, and it needs to help fund Medicaid expansion right here at home. Texas is a big state. It's got, there are many communities that are not in Dallas, that are not in Houston, that are not in San Antonio, that are out in West Texas or East Texas, where there aren't the facilities that are necessary for people to get adequate health care. They're closing down and they're cutting services. So that's the first thing we need to do. Yes, we're going to have a budget shortfall because of the pandemic. So we need to get a handle on the pandemic. If we don't get a handle on the pandemic, the economy can't recover. Because if people are still concerned that they may catch coronavirus, they're not going to have that consumer confidence that they need to participate in our economy. That's so important, because it also has a lot to do with public education, and going back to school. We need to have confidence that we're sending our children into safe environments. If we can do that, parents can go back to work. Again, they can participate in the economy. We've put too much of that public school burden onto the backs of our Texas homeowners through soaring property taxes. We need to ensure that the state funds more of its fair share of the public education burden instead of shifting it down to local governments, where ultimately they may have to cut city services to increase or to keep the right amount of funding. So that's basically a lot, and to do that in 140 days is going to be really hard, but that's why we're running. That's why we care. That's why we fight. That's why we get up every day. That's why we spent 540 days on this campaign so far, is trying to do that. And I hope that you will ensure that everybody that gets out to vote, because that's a very important thing in our democracy, is voting. And unfortunately, it's being seriously undermined, especially here in the state of Texas. We have early voting starts on October 13th. That's 12 days from now. And 33 days until Election Day. So it is coming, and it is coming fast. So make a plan, call your friends, call your neighbors and say, hey, this is what I want to do. If you can vote early, vote early. If you can vote by mail, vote by mail. If you'd like to help us out, volunteers are always greatly appreciated. You can go to my website, Drago, Drago 4 Texas.com, and sign up to volunteer. We have phone banks every Wednesday, Thursday, and Sunday, and we'll probably be adding more as we go through. So once again, my name is Joe Drago. I'm running for Texas House District 96, and I look forward to representing everybody in House District 96, not just those that are politically connected or those that are within a tight little circle, because we're all a community and we can all do better as a community when we're all represented.
Awesome. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
I think one of the things that Joe had mentioned, is what it's going to take to get us all over the finish line. I mean, we're doing this all together. So, I always say, hold hands, kumbaya. Sometimes we're going to fight. Sometimes we're going to fight with each other. But the main thing is, that we do our best and we give it 100%. So November 3rd, when we start hearing these names and seeing these results come out and we start seeing that blue wave hit Tarrant County, so important. We know that the work that we put in, is worth all of that. So the next candidate that I'm going to bring up, our final candidate for the evening, over there in House District 98. She's actually, when the pandemic started, this candidate, she's an attorney. She was actually helping out individuals with their, labor-related questions and issues, because there was a lot of uncertainty when the pandemic started. So I am very happy to introduce our next representative in House District 98, Deborah Edmondson.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Heather, and thank you to the Tarrant County Democratic Party and the Stonewall Democrats, and also Felipe for hosting this evening. I'm so happy to be here. And I am Deborah Edmondson, running for District 98. Now, District 98's in a little bit of a different area, close to Jeromey, but District 98 is Southlake, Keller, Grapevine, Colleyville, a little bit of Hazlet, Westlake, Trophy Club, and North Fort Worth. It's all in Tarrant County. So it's diverse, but in a different way than everyone else's districts, okay? But I have lived in District 98 for more than 25 years. And so I know a lot about District 98, and the people here are important to me and are near and dear to me. I am a former Southlake City Council person, having served a term on City Council. Before I moved to Southlake, I was Mayor Pro Tem in Fairview, Texas, which is over in Collin County. And then for the last 10 years, I served as president of the Bob Jones Nature Center, which the board of directors, which is a 700-acre nature preserve located in South Lake, Texas. And so I've been very active in the District 98 area for many years. And, you know, I appreciated so much of what Representative Collier talked about, and all talking about local control and also the threats to it. And having served on 2 different city councils, I know and understand just how important local control is. And I have to say that one thing that convinced me to step up and run for this seat was the loss of local control that I've seen over the last several years. And frankly, in the last 2 sessions, bordering on the point of ridiculousness. In 2017, the governor wanted to take away the right of cities to have tree ordinances. I mean, I can't tell you how it is ridiculous and how upsetting that was to me. And of course, that didn't pass, but it was so important to the governor. He held a special session. There were a couple of other issues, but that was one of his 4 or 5 issues. And of course, something did pass, but it was greatly watered down, but nevertheless ridiculous. And then I guess you could say the straw that broke the camel's back was in this last legislative session, where the legislature voted to take away the right of cities to control how commercial buildings look. Well, I know that the mayor of South Lake, who is a raging right-winger, got very upset and said, you know, if that was in place when we were developing South Lake wouldn't look like the community it is. So Austin has been reaching into our local communities and taking control. And when you think about how large of a state Texas is, there is no way we can do a one-size-fits-all. What works in South Lake, Texas doesn't work in Dallas, Texas. What works in Dallas, Texas doesn't work in West Texas or South Texas, or even up in North Texas in Wichita Falls. And so all of these communities are wonderfully unique. And to start to take away the right of communities to control these things that people have always just thought of are their right is frightening and dangerous. And now talking about the police issue, Governor Abbott is talking about taking away the right of cities to control their own budgets. And that's what it is when he talks about this so-called any city who reduces their police budget, we're going to freeze their taxes. No, cities have a fiscal responsibility to their tax-paying residents to present a budget that is responsible. And for the governor and the state legislature to even consider trying to hamstring them is wrong. And so that is a big reason that I am running. Now, secondly, and several of the other candidates have touched on this already, we've got a full-blown health crisis in the state of Texas. Texas already had more uninsured people than any other state in the union, but it proudly is one of only 16 states that refuses to take free money, literally, that our taxpayers have already paid for in the form of Medicaid. Since the pandemic hit, I think I've seen where 1.4 million more Texans are now uninsured. We must accept Medicaid. We must accept Medicaid to help people who are uninsured and make sure they have health care. And by the way, the Medicaid issue is not just about, although it's very critical and important, helping uninsured. Our health insurance rates are higher than any other state in the country. You know why? Because we don't accept Medicaid. And when people who don't have insurance get sick, they're going to be treated. They just don't have the money to pay. And so others pick it up. So Medicaid is a win for every person in this state, absolutely. And then the other thing, which is going to be a crisis, and of course, Governor Abbott, rather than ruling by rather than having one-man authority, which is he's had ever since the pandemic hit, should have called a special session, should have called the legislature into session immediately to address the issues of the pandemic. Instead, what's going to happen is the legislature in January is going to be facing a serious shortfall. Now, where does one suppose is one of the first places they're going to look to make up that shortfall? Unfortunately, I think it's going to be public education, and they're going to be looking at taking back the money they finally put back into public education in the last legislative session. Well, I can assure you there are plenty of other places to go where they can make up this money. One of them is in property tax exemptions. You know, the Star Telegram ran an article on this a number of months ago, and that is one of the most misused tax loopholes that we have. In Tarrant County alone, there's over 1,300 tax exemptions. Also, and I'm gonna reach over here to my paper, the comptroller's office has estimated that Texas will leave an additional 125 billion in uncollected monies in state tax exemptions alone. That's 93 billion in exemptions and property tax exemptions in 32 billion. We have the money to make up the shortfall and also fully fund education. It is not a problem. We just need to elect people who are brave enough to stand up and vote and do the right thing. And you know, one thing I'm very proud of is when I was on South Lake City Council, the mayor then, Rick Stacy, told Dallas Morning News, I measure South Lake two ways, before Debra and after Debra. Now, of course, he meant it as an insult, but I was proud of that because I thought, wow, I made a difference. And I hope when we all get elected and go to Austin, those Republicans are going to say, after the delegation, they measure the state legislature two ways, before the Tarrant County Democratic state legislators and after, because we are going to be elected and we are going to make a difference, a big difference for all the people in this state. Now, it's been said over and over again, but we are not at the top of the ballot. And it is critically important when you cast your vote, you vote for every race and vote for all the way down, because first you're going to have the national races, then you're going to have the statewide races, then you'll start to get into the state legislatures. So, and then even below that, you've got county commissioner and your local races. So please, please, please vote all the way down. What's going on in my campaign? All kinds of things. We are phone banking, we are text banking, working with the precinct chairs in District 98, who, by the way, those are an incredible group of people. We're doing lit dropping. There's a huge lit drop this Saturday. Please email my campaign for more information. And of course, we always need a little bit more money, that is for sure. So again, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak tonight. And I am excited for the upcoming election. And hopefully we are all going to get to know each other so much better in Austin. Thank you.
Thank you, Debra.
Thank you so much, Debra. Thank you to all of our candidates and State Representative Collier for joining us this evening. Everyone who's out there watching right now and will be watching in the future, these are our fierce candidates. They're fearless. They're ready for the fight. They're ready for Austin. They're ready to take Tarrant County to Austin and make a difference. Thank you all for joining us. Oh, thank you. Heather?
Oh, I got to put my video on. There I am. Well, this is the conclusion of our candidate town hall. If anybody has any questions for the candidates, you can always send an email to info@tarrantdemocrats.org. It is October 1st. And we want to let you know about some exciting things that will be happening. I'm sure that if you haven't gotten a phone call or a text from a campaign or from your county party or from some kind of volunteer, you are sure to get one, because we have a ton of phone banks going on right now to make sure that people know, hey, get ready to vote. Early voting does begin on October 13th. The main thing is make your plan to vote. Be there on day one if you can, and then spend the rest of the month, getting your friends, your family, your neighbors, your adult children, get them all out to the polls, because it's so important that we elect, new officials, ones that are actually going to care about the well-being of their communities, ones that are going to make healthcare accessible and affordable to everyone, and as well as expand Medicaid, elected officials that care about, like Representative Collier said, reimagining our criminal justice system, as far as a system with true community-based policing. So many different issues, so many different things, and all of these platforms are part of the Democratic Party platform. And so we know that a lot of you that are listening right now care and share those same values. So we do want to invite everyone, if you haven't visited our website yet, it's tarrantdemocrats.org. You can find ways to volunteer. You can get information about voting, as well as all of the different candidates on your ballot. So just wanted to take this time to thank everybody for joining us. It is the 7 o'clock hour, and I'm sure that we can still fit in 2 more hours of phone banking today. So if you haven't signed up for an event yet, please do so. And that's all that we have. Thank you to our candidates that joined us today. If we could take a group photo of just our candidates, I'm going to add it to our website for who's left. Okay, so big smiles and waves on 3. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much for coming.
Bye, thank you.